Welcome back to another deep dive. It's really great to have you here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
So today we're opening up a file that is honestly a little intimidating. I've been reading through the notes, and I have to say this text starts in a place of just profound vulnerability.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
that kind of isolation where you feel like you're screaming underwater, and yet by the end of it, it lands in this state of absolute unshakable confidence.
It really is a massive psychological arc. We're looking at a composition today that doesn't just offer, comfort. It demands a complete shift in how you perceive reality.
Right.
It isn't a gentle pat on the back telling you everything will be fine. It's a total restructuring of your worldview.
Which is a pretty big promise for a short text. The source material we have today is a specific, a poetic hymn. Technically, it's called a shabad from the Sikh scriptural tradition, and it's titled Dhanaasaree Mahalaa 4.
Yeah, and that title actually gives us the roadmap right away.
How so?
Well, Mahalaa 4 identifies the author. That's Guru Ram Das Ji, the fourth embodiment of the Sikh gurus. And Dhanaasaree is the rag, or the musical measure that it's set in.
Right, and we've touched on rags in previous deep dives. It's not just a melody, right? It sets the whole emotional stage for the listener.
Precisely. In the Sikh tradition, the music isn't just background noise. It's the delivery mechanism for the message.
Okay.
Dhanaasaree is fascinating because it's often associated with a mood of prayer, but specifically a stabilizing, reassuring kind of prayer. Think of it as the musical equivalent of someone putting a heavy, warm blanket on your shoulders when you're shivering.
Oh, I like
It's meant to ground you completely.
And that grounding is definitely necessary here because looking at the first section of the notes, this text starts in the deep end. For those of you who want to locate this in the standard pagination of the Sikh scriptures, we are on page 670.
Page 670, exactly. And the mission for our deep dive today is to track the author's thought process. Guru Ram Das Ji is basically taking us from this state of, I am in pain and alone, to a radical conclusion.
Which is?
That there is no such thing as an enemy.
Which is just a wild logical leap. I mean, usually when I'm in pain, I'm looking for who to blame, not trying to erase the very concept of enemies.
Right, it goes against our natural instincts.
So let's not skip ahead. Let's start with the opening address. The text begins with a direct call to the divine. He uses the terms mir saahaa and patisha,
Which translate to, my king or oh my king.
It strikes me as a really formal way to start a conversation about personal pain. You know, you don't usually call your therapist your highness.
That's true, it is formal. But it establishes authority immediately. You are addressing the one in charge. But notice what happens right after that title.
Right. The first claim isn't a complaint at all.
Exactly, it's a statement of relief. The line is, O my king, beholding the blessed vision of the Lord's Darshan, I am at peace.
I really want to pause on that word, darshan. We see it translated here as blessed vision. But in Western contexts, a vision usually sounds like a hallucination or a dream. Or maybe just seeing something from really far away. Is that what's happening here?
Not quite. In this context, darshan is a root concept. It means a direct experiential encounter.
Experiential encounter.
Yeah, it's the difference between hearing a description of the ocean and actually standing on the beach with the salt water hitting your face. It implies presence.
Wow, okay.
The text says that this darshan, this encounter, brings sukh, which translates to peace or comfort.
So the starting point is essentially, I see you, I feel your presence, and I am calm. But then immediately after this declaration of peace, the floor drops out. We get to the core conflict of today's deep dive.
The hook, if you will.
Right. The text says, you alone know my inner pain, O king. What can anyone else know? The phrase used is hamaree bedhan to jaanataa.
Bedhan, that is such a heavy word.
Yeah.
It translates to pain or affliction, but it specifically connotes a piercing internal trouble, the secret struggle of the heart.
This feels like such a universal human experience. I mean, you can try to explain your anxiety or your grief or that weird pit in your stomach to your partner or your best friend or your parents, and they can nod and sympathize. But there's always that gap, isn't there? They can't actually feel the weight of it.
That is exactly what Guru Ram Das Ji is identifying here. He asks, what can anyone else know? It's a rhetorical question acknowledging the ceiling of human empathy.
Right.
We're all locked inside our own consciousness. When you are suffering, you are, in a very real social sense, totally alone.
It's validating in a dark way. The text admits that feeling isolated isn't a failure of your communication skills, it's just a fundamental limit of being human.
But here's the pivot. The text doesn't wallow in that isolation. It says, you alone know. It suggests that the divine, this king he is talking to, is the only witness who actually crosses that gap.
So the isolation isn't absolute. There is one entity that gets it.
Right. And think about the relief of that. If the king knows the bedhan, the pain, then the burden isn't entirely on you to explain it.
That's huge.
You don't have to plead your case or justify why it hurts. You are already known. You don't have to translate your soul.
That moves us from the emotional problem to the philosophical solution. And this is where the text gets really challenging. We go from, you know my pain, to a statement about the nature of truth itself. The line is, "O true Lord and Master, whatever you do, all that is true." Teraa, keeaa, sach, sabh, hoy.
This is a massive leap. We are moving into the territory of what we call hukam, or divine will. If the divine is the true Lord, saachaa, then the actions of the divine must also be true.
I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. If I'm in that state of bedhan, deep pain, and you tell me this pain is true or this situation is true, that doesn't feel comforting. It feels dismissive. It feels like you're saying, suck it up, it's real.
It certainly can feel that way if you interpret true as fair, according to your own rules, or, nice. But the text is using true in the sense of real and valid.
Okay.
It's saying that the situation you are in isn't a mistake. It's not a glitch in the universe. It is a direct result of the Creator's will. It has validity.
Okay, so if the situation is true, what does that make the people involved in the situation? Because this next line is the one that I think listeners will struggle with the most. The author writes, "Who should I call a liar? There is no other than you."
This is the concept of non-duality, plain and simple. And it is arguably the hardest thing to practice.
Who should I call a liar? I mean, come on. In my day-to-day life, if someone scams me or lies to my face or hurts my family, I have a very clear list of who the liars are. I can name names.
Naturally. We live in a world of duality, good guys, bad guys, truth tellers, liars, me, you. But Guru Ram Das Ji is applying a rigorous theological logic here. He says, there is no other than you. Du jaanai koi.
Walk me through the logic. How do we get from God is real to my scammer isn't a liar?
If you accept the premise that the Creator is infinite and omnipresent, that the divine is the only energy sustaining the universe, then a second independent entity cannot exist.
So my enemy isn't independent of God?
According to this text, no. If you point at someone and say that person is false or that person is a liar, you are creating a division. You're basically saying, here is God who is truth, and over there is this bad person who is completely outside of God.
Right.
The text argues that this is impossible. The energy animating the liar is the exact same energy animating the saint.
So who should I call a liar isn't asking for a name. It's saying it is ontologically impossible to condemn someone if you truly believe the divine is everywhere.
Correct. It dissolves the me versus them mentality entirely. If I accept that the king I was just praying to is the only reality, I have to accept that he is acting through the person I'm angry with too.
That is incredibly difficult. It sounds like it removes moral accountability. If the guy hurting me is just God in a mask, do I just let him do it?
That is the most common objection. But look at the context. This is about internal peace, about resolving the bedhan. It's not a legal text saying, don't put criminals in jail.
Oh, okay.
It's a spiritual text saying, don't poison your own heart with hatred. If you see the source behind the person, you can deal with the situation without the toxicity of personal judgment. You can stop the action without hating the actor.
It reframes the conflict. It's not me versus a villain. It's me navigating a complex reality where the one source is playing all the roles.
Exactly. And to back this up, the text zooms out. We move from this personal relationship to a cosmic one. The next section basically says, look around. This isn't just about you. You are pervading and permeating and everyone meditates on you.
And then there's this striking image. Everyone begs of you. You alone give gifts to all. The
image of the beggar. It's a great leveler.
It sounds a bit derogatory at first, like we're all just spare-changing the universe.
In a modern capitalist sense, maybe. But spiritually, it's about dependency. It doesn't matter if you are a CEO, a king on earth, or someone with absolutely nothing. In the eyes of this text, everyone is equally dependent on the one divine for their very next breath. No one owns their own life.
You alone give gifts. Iktat.
One giver. This reinforces that idea of no other. If I think my boss gave me a raise, I'm deluded. If I think my rival stole my opportunity, I'm deluded. The text says there's only one source dispensing everything. The people in between are just delivery systems.
That really changes how you look at other people. You stop resenting the person who didn't give you what you wanted, and honestly, you stop worshiping the person who did, because neither of them is the actual source.
It frees you from being too attached to people's reactions. The text says, all are under your power, none at all are beyond you. If no one is beyond the divine's power, then no human has independent authority to hurt you or help you outside of that will.
There's another line here that paints a beautiful picture of this cycle. All beings are yours. All shall merge and be absorbed in you.
Sabh tu shimasamai.
It's a cyclical view of existence. We emerge from the source, we exist in the source, and we merge back into the source, like waves rising from the ocean and falling back in.
And to go back to the lyre concept, a wave can't be false. It's just water. You can't look at a rough wave and say, you aren't the ocean.
Precisely. It might be a wave that knocks you over, but it is still water. Recognizing that is what brings the peace. You stop fighting the water.
I want to pivot a bit to the language used here because there is this fascinating tension I noticed in the notes. We talked about king or padishah and lord and master or saachaa, sahib. Those are big, distant, authoritative words. But then interspersed with that, the author uses my beloved or mere kiaa.
It is a deliberate duality.
It feels like a contradiction, though. Is the divine a scary king who controls the cosmos or a beloved friend I can cuddle up to? It feels almost like the author is code switching. The text suggests it is both, and crucially, that you need both aspects for this transformation to work.
Why is that? Why not just pick one?
Think about the inner pain we started with. If the divine is just a beloved, like a really good friend, they might have sympathy, they can sit with you and cry, but maybe they lack the power to fix the situation. They're just another wave in the ocean, helpless like you.
Okay, that makes sense. A friend can hold your hand, but they can't change the laws of physics or stop a tragedy. They're limited.
Right. But flip it. If the divine is only a king, distant, all-powerful, commanding, then that's terrifying. That's a tyrant. There's no intimacy. You can't share your bedhan, your secret pain, with a distant bureaucrat who is running the universe. You'd be too afraid to speak.
So by combining them,
Guru Ram Das Ji creates a relationship with a being who has the absolute authority of a king to orchestrate the universe so you know you're safe, but the intimacy of a beloved who cares about your specific heart.
you are the hope of all, oh my beloved. That's the line.
Yes. It creates a profound sense of safety. You are safe because the one who loves you is also the one running the show. It's the ultimate I know a guy situation, but the guy is the universe itself.
Which leads us perfectly to the conclusion. We have gone from pain to realizing God is everywhere, to seeing everyone as equal beggars, to this king and beloved dynamic. How does the author wrap this up? If I were writing a petition to a king, and I started by saying, I'm in pain, I would definitely end with a list of demands. Please fix X, Y, and Z.
And that is exactly what the author doesn't do.
Right. I was looking for the request, make my enemy go away, cure my illness. It's just not there.
No. The final stanza is the ultimate surrender. The line is, as it pleases you, protect and preserve me. Jel bavai teo rak.
As it pleases you?
It's profound. After realizing that the divine is the true king and that everything he does is true, the author realizes the best position to take isn't give me what I want. It is keep me in whatever state pleases you.
That seems like a risky prayer. What if it pleases the divine to keep you in pain? That's the fear, right?
That brings us back to the very first line. Beholding the blessed vision, I'm at peace. The peace doesn't come from the external circumstances changing. The peace comes from the connection, the darshan.
So the prayer isn't for the bedhan to vanish.
The prayer is to be preserved in that state of connection, regardless of what is happening externally. The phrase, as it pleases you, is basically saying, my logic is limited. Your logic is infinite. I trust your logic more than my own desires. It's admitting that you don't actually know what is best for you in the grand scheme of things.
So the resolution to the inner pain isn't that the problem goes away, it's that the resistance to the problem goes away.
Exactly. When you surrender to the true king, you stop fighting reality. You accept that whatever is happening is part of that truth we discussed earlier. And in that acceptance, and in seeing the divine even in the people troubling you, the isolation of the pain dissolves.
You are no longer alone in the pain because you realize there is no alone. There is only the one.
The final stamp of the text is, you are the true king of Nanak. It's a total handover of the self, of the ego to the divine will. It's signing a blank check.
It is a stunning arc. I want to zoom out and recap this journey for you listening because we covered some heavy theological ground in a really short amount of time.
Sure. We started with the human condition, bedhan. deep, isolating pain that feels like no one understands.
Then we found the solution wasn't venting to other people, but realizing that the divine knows that pain intimately.
We moved into the radical philosophy. If the divine is the only reality, then there are no others and no liars, just the one acting through many forms.
We looked at the cosmic scale. Everyone is a beggar, everyone is a wave in the ocean, all originating from and returning to the exact same source.
And finally, the resolution. Not a demand for a specific outcome, but a surrender to the will of the beloved king, trusting that, as it pleases you, is the safest place to be.
It really forces you to rethink how you approach your own struggles. It shifts the focus from, why is this happening to me, to, how can I see the divine in this?
And that is the hardest, most rewarding work there is. It stops you from being a victim of your circumstances and makes you a participant in a larger divine reality.
So here is a question for you to take with you today. We talked about the liar.
Right. If you really bought into this text, if you truly believed there is no other, and that the divine is acting through absolutely everyone, how would that change the way you respond to the person who is causing you inner pain right now?
If they aren't a liar, but a mask the divine is wearing.
That changes the whole conversation, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It might not make the pain vanish instantly, but it definitely changes the nature of the suffering. It turns a conflict into a moment of darshan.
A completely new way of seeing.
A huge thank you to Guru Ram Das Ji for these timeless words, and thank you to you for unpacking them with us on this deep dive.
Keep thinking, keep questioning.
And we will catch you on the next deep dive. Stay curious.